Hello, everyone. I would like to thank you today for attending our Fluke Networks webinar. Today, we will talk about how to read the cable certification reports, and we will focus on the copper cable certification for today. If you are interested for fiber, just make sure to register for our planned webinar, which is planned on April 20th, okay, next Monday. So there we will cover more details about how to read the fiber cable certification report. Today we will talk mainly about copper cable certification reports and how to read it. Okay. So today's presentation will take around 35 to 40 minutes, where we will go and talk about, refresh our memories about some basics of copper testing. What type of copper testers we can use, why do we need to certify, which parameters we need to test, and to when we know that the test passed and to which limits. And then we will cover some details which will be covered in our next slides. Just to remind you, if you have any questions during my presentation, please type it on the Q&A and we will make sure to answer it on the end of the webinar. So after we finish presenting, we will have like 10-15 minutes to answer all your questions, and we will not close the webinar until we hopefully answer all your questions. First, before we go into deep details, before we go into deep details, how to read the cable certification report, it's very important to understand why do we need to certify. And when we ask our customers, we get several different answers for that. And that's why we wanted to make it as a poll question for you. So my colleagues Werner and Wael will, can you ask for a poll question now so we can see the answers? Now, why do you need to certify, okay? Just answer based on the most relevant answer to you, okay? And then we will analyze these answers. I will give it 2 minutes, okay? Until we get the answers. Okay. Yeah, so we see different answers, okay, and we will see now what's our opinion on that, yeah? So if we ask different customers working in different roles within the ICT industry, we get different answers. The first answer is to get paid for the completed installation job. I saw only one answer that, but yeah, I assume that many of you are system integrators. And to get paid for your installation job, once you complete the installation, it's the only way to verify that you did a good installation in the field. So many system integrators, when we ask them, the first reason is to get paid for the completed installation job. So that's very important. That's the only way to judge if your installation job was done completely, if you did the installation job in the right way. The only way to test it and to provide a proof is to use our certifiers, okay, to test the installation. The other reason, okay, and I saw many of you answer that, and which is a very good answer, is to make sure that you are meeting the standard. So, question that we receive many times, that customer is telling us that I am buying my cabling system from a reputable manufacturer. So I'm getting a Cat 6A jack tested as a manufacturer test. And I'm getting the cable tested also as a manufacturer. I'm getting a test out of the manufacturer. So why I do need to test? Why I need to certify in the field? It's very important because if I want to have a Cat 6A system, if I want to have a Cat 6A installation in the field, I need to make sure that the Cat 6A jack is certified, the Cat 6A cable is certified, as well we need to certify your installation job, which you did in the field. And the only way to do it is if we test the installation with our tester in the field. So imagine that you are an end user or you are a consultant. You would not accept to pay for a Cat 6A system and on the end you get the performance of Cat 5e because you are wasting your money. So it's very important is not only to test as a manufacturer, it's important to test the installation once it's completed, once the cable and jack are terminated, to make sure that the installation has done properly, and then we are testing a complete system. To run faster network and support future applications. That's sometimes very critical for the cable manufacturers. If you are asking for a cable, if you are asking for warranty for your project, then the only way the cable manufacturers are offering the 25 years warranty or the lifetime warranty is by making sure that your installation has been done properly. And the only way to do that is if we certify it with a certification test. We should be always careful, okay, that we sometimes we see a system integrators, small contractors that offer to save dollars, okay, on the installation without certifying the job. In this way, we are doubtful about their performance in the field, if they did the right installation, if all the components are manufactured in a proper quality manner. So it's very important to make sure that we are not saving when a system integrator is offering an installation without a certification. So if you look at our poll question, there was no wrong answer. It really depends on which business you are. If you are a system integrator, you mainly care of getting your job paid after you complete your installation. If you are a consultant or end user, it's very important to make sure that whatever I paid, I am getting the performance out of that. Yeah. It's very important to remember and to recognize that as a Fluke Networks, we have different categories of our products. We have a certification tools, where all our presentation today is talking about certification because we need to read the certification report. In the meantime, we have a qualification and we have verification tools. But usually these verification and qualification tools are great for continuity measurement. They are not testing against the standard. So when I am having an installation of Cat 6 or Cat 6A, that's a standard. So I'm not testing against the standard, I'm just testing against continuity. Now the qualification testers can predict what's the speed that you can get out of your network, but it's not really testing, it's not testing against the standard. So in the next 3-4 slides that we will have, we will talk about what are the parameters that the certification tester is testing, so we can recognize what's the difference between qualification and certification testers. Those are pictures of our family. I'm sure many of you are familiar with our verification and qualification testers. I will not talk about them because it's not the topic. Nice to share them in our slides. Okay, so what parameters we are testing in our certification tools that makes them different than the verification and qualification tools. As you are aware, the price of a certification tool, it's usually much more than a qualification and verification. So what's the reason? What are the parameters that we are measuring? Let's look at it. Usually the capacity of a cable to support a high-speed data is based on measurement of two things, which is signal and noise. So the difference between a Cat6 cable and a Cat6a cable is the capacity of the cable, is how it supports this high speeds, and it's the difference. The difference is in the measurement of the signal and noise, and we will talk about it in more details. The signal strength or loss is measured as an attenuation or insertion loss. So if you have a measurement, a tester which is measuring an insertion loss, we are basically measuring the signal strength, and we will talk about it in more details. Noise is made up of two measurements, which is near-end crosstalk and return loss, and we will explain this difference. The greater the frequency where we can maintain a positive signal to noise ratio, the faster we can communicate. So those are the parameters that we are basically measuring with our certification tools. And we will go in very fast in 4 slides explaining what do we mean with the insertion loss, what do we mean with the near-end crosstalk and return loss, and what do we mean with the signal to noise ratio. That's a wire map example that we can see in our certification tools. As we explained, we can see it also in our verification and qualification tools, but it's very important to measure the wire map and to see the wire map on our certification tool. Because if you have an issue with your wire map, for sure the signal, there will not be a signal strength, so we will not be able to certify the cable. So an example of open pairs that we can see here. Okay, we have an open in the pairs of 3, 6, 7, and 8. I can assume that this network will not work, right? What about if we have a flipped pair? Yeah, we can also see it with our certification tool. So we can see here that we have a flip between the pairs 4 and 5. And if we have a short, also we can see it on this side. You can see that we have a short between the pairs 3 and 6. Okay, and it will be indicated with our certification tools. And if we choose the wrong standard, if we tested the wire map on T568A versus T568B, this is the result that we can see and we can expect. And for sure it will fail because it's a wrong wire map. Open shield, okay, that's very important, okay. Our testers, our certification tools, okay, that's something that you cannot usually see it in a verification or qualification tool. Okay, you see that all the pairs are very properly connected. There is no short, no open pairs, no flipped pairs. But you can see here that we have a problem with our shield. And it's indicating that after 16.6 meters from the main side of the tester, we have an issue with our shield. Okay, and that's an indication that we have a problem with our shield, and we can see it, and it's very critical to analyze it and see it in our shielded cables. Let's talk a little bit about the signal strength, or what we call it as an insertion loss. The tester call it insertion loss, but we always can remember it as a signal strength. Okay, it's the signal loss down of the cable. So if I am testing from the main, okay, I am sending a signal. While it reaches to the remote, to the other side, okay, the signal will be lost, okay, and that's something normal, but to which limit, that's what will be identified on each test limit separately, if it is okay, if it is pass or fail. Signal loss can be increased with the length, so that's a very important reason why we cannot have more than 90 meters in permanent links and 100 meters in channels. Frequency, temperature, and that's very important for our region in the Middle East. The weather is getting hotter, and now we can see, and just as a guideline, that cables in hot conditions might not reach 100 meters. So as a designer, we always need to take it into consideration. If the temperature is high, then we need to design our cables in lengths which is less than 100 meters. Okay, what's the note? Now we talked, in the first slide, we talked about the signal. Now we are talking about noise, okay? The noise, the first parameter in the noise we said is the return loss, is the reflected signal on the same pair. So on the same side, not on the other side of the tester, we can see that the losses, the reflected signal that we see it there. The return loss will increase because of badly made, damaged cables, DC contact resistance issues, pairs being separated, water in the cable. All these details, okay, I'll not go into more details in that because we are covering that through 2 days CCT dedicated training, where you go through each measurement, what does it mean, what's the reason, how to read it. I'm just giving an overview to explain what are the parameters that we are really measuring in the certification testers. Another measurement for noise is the next, which we call it near-end crosstalk. What's the near-end crosstalk? If we have two pairs, okay, the distributed signal on adjacent pairs. So from one pair to another, we are losing some signal, and that's what we measure it as near-end crosstalk. The next is increased by the 4-5 pair being inside the 3-6 pair, okay, and as you can see here. Badly made, damaged cables, not maintaining the twist of the pair in the connector. So those are all reasons of failing in next. But the device itself will tell you that you have a problem in next, and it will predict in case that there is a problem, what's the possible causes of that problem. And it will tell you the troubleshooting in English. Okay. Now the most important part, and that's what we care about, okay, is the signal to noise ratio, or what we call it attenuation crosstalk ratio. Okay. It's in definition, it's the signal to noise ratio for a given pair. Okay, and it's a calculation. So there is no measurement measuring the attenuation crosstalk because we measure the next and we measure the insertion loss. So we are able to have a value of the attenuation crosstalk. And for sure, a better attenuation crosstalk means faster communication. So when we talk about Cat5e, okay, to 100 megahertz, that supports 5 gigabase. Yeah? If we have a Cat6 to 250 megahertz, that can support 10 gigabase, but it's very important to realize that that's only up to 55 meters. If I have a Cat6a, okay, to 500 megahertz, that supports 10 gig base to 100 meters. So what's the difference in principle between the Cat6a and the Cat6, okay, is the signal to noise ratio, okay? So for sure, when we are testing Cat6a, we have different test limits than when we are testing Cat6, than we are testing Cat5e, or if we are testing even Cat8, it has totally different test limits. So it's very important, and we will show it when we set up the tester, is to use the correct test limit for my measurement. Okay, let's go now to our topic. That was just a brief, refreshing little bit information about our understanding what we are measuring. Let's go now to our topic. Okay, this is the test result. This is what you are getting. If you are a system integrator, that's what you are generating. You are doing the test with the tester. You are uploading the results. You are having the Linkware PC software, which is available free. It can be downloaded. We will show you in the presentations how you can download it. This is what you will be generating after you finish your installation job. If you are a consultant, then that's what you need to read. If you are end user also, that's what you need to read. And that's what you will receive as a deliverable from the system integrators. Let's understand, yeah? If I see a test result like that, and I'm sure that many of you has already seen plenty of these test results. Did this test pass? That's the first thing that we are looking at. We are looking at this green with a pass. That means that the test passed. Our eyes automatically first goes there to see if the test passed. And I'm sure that all of you can know that this result has passed. Okay, the second thing that we will look at is what test limit we tested at. So if we look at it, we test here the Cat6 permanent link. But if I use the wrong test limit, for example, instead of Cat6 permanent link, I use the Cat6a permanent link, there is big possibility that I will get failed here. So the two things that first in my eyes, the first I will observe or I will look at is it passed or failed. and then I will look to which test limit I did the test. So these are the two basic things that always I need to look at and make sure that I read it correctly. Because if my installation was Cat6a cable and I get a test report of Cat6 permanent link, I know that this test report cannot be trusted, and either we need to change the limits, okay, or we need to do the test again. Okay, so before we read it, let's realize a little bit how we can download, how we can see these test results, okay? There are three ways, okay, to transfer results from our tester to our PC or to our Linkware PC, where we can analyze this data and generate the reports out of that. First way is to use the Linkware Live. Linkware Live is a cloud-based platform that Fluke Networks has for our Versive platform, for our certification tools. All what I need to do is to have an access over internet through Wi-Fi. Yeah, if I don't have a Wi-Fi available on the site, then I can use my my 3G hotspot to generate the Wi-Fi. All what I need to have on the field, to have a kind of way to have a Wi-Fi to transfer the results. All what I need to do is to go to linkwarelive.com. This is something available for free to all our customers. It's not something that we charge you for. So even if you have a tester, you can log in and create an account. Even if you are a consultant or end user that you don't have your own testers, you can create your own account and then you can review the results of the system integrators. That's our preferred and recommended way. And with our today's situation where we have Corona, I hope everyone will be safe and we will pass through this period in a safe way. Okay, with these periods, it's very important to keep the social distancing. So a Linkware Live is a very nice tool that I can transfer my results from the tester to a cloud-based, and I can see it on my laptop even if I am 1,000 kilometers away from the tester. Okay. The other way is to send it through email, Dropbox, okay? Or yeah, so that's the other way. The tester can support a flash memory that you can install and download all the test results, or you can use, as seen in the picture, a USB port to connect the tester to the laptop and then transfer all the data and then share it through email, Dropbox, yeah? Whatever way you use, okay, we highly recommend to use the Linkware Live, but whatever way you use or you feel that it's convenient, it's up to you. But a big request for you is always to ask for the result in the Fluke original format, which is FLW format. And we will talk in more details why we need to do that, but simply because as we know, there are a lot of sophisticated softwares that can modify the PDF reports, but there is no way to modify the results that you receive in an original Fluke format that we call it FLW format. Once you receive it as a FLW format, okay, make sure that you download the Linkware PC on your laptop, and then you can see the results, you can analyze them, you can do a lot of things that we will talk about in the next slides. It's, as explained, it's free of charge. You can just now, after we finish our webinar, you can go to Fluke Networks website and download the Linkware PC, and I will show you in one slide how we can download it and from where we can see. This is what you will get as a Linkware PC, okay? So imagine that you received the results in this way, okay? You can easily identify the cable IDs. You can identify the date and time when the test really actually happened. So if you are a manager or if you are a consultant, okay, you can analyze at which time the test has been done. And if there is an idle time, you can analyze it and you can try to find ways to be more productive and finish your project in a much better way. Then you can have the results filtered as pass, failed, so you can analyze the pass or failed results. Then you can see the length of each cable ID, and you can see the headroom. Headroom is basically the difference between the actual reading and what's the test limit. The bigger the headroom that you have will be eventually for sure better. Okay, and then also you can see what test limit we tested at. So if you notice something wrong, you can easily identify it. It's much easier than receiving a 500 test in PDF format and then not being able to analyze it in a nice way. So this is what you will see. Again, it's free of charge. You can download it. If you own a tester or not, you can download it regardless of owning the tester or not. Okay, so this is a checklist. Okay, I will not spend much time about it, but it's very important to receive the report, as you can see here in the A, in the Fluke original format. We can see here that the pass or fail, the test limit, okay. We will share the recording of this webinar after we finish presenting it, so you can go back and see where is each point that we discussed in more details, where I can find it in the test report, okay? And if you have any question, just feel free to come back to me or to Werner or Wael for any questions related to this subject. Okay. So let's go again to the basics, okay? What test limit we passed, okay? We can see easily that we test the Cat6 permanent link and it passed, okay. So what does permanent link means, okay? Permanent link, that's what usually an installer or a system integrator is using for asking for cable warranties. So if you ask for 25 years warranty, or if you need to do a certification of a permanent link, an installation that it will stay there for the next 20, 30 years, okay, that's the right way of doing the certification. And that's what we call it, permanent link. Okay, it can be, as you can see here, a patch panel, and it can be another patch panel from the other side or a telecommunication outlet. And we need to always remember that the maximum length that we can get there is 90 meters, or what we call it 295 foot. The channel measurement, okay, that's typically not used by installers, and we recommend the installers not to use the channel. This type of measurement is mainly used for troubleshooting. So if an end user wants to troubleshoot his infrastructure cables for a reason or another, he can use the channel adapters for testing. The channel will have a maximum of 100 meters because we added the length of the patch cords here. Yeah? So the 90 meters will not be enough. So we have a maximum of 100 meters. So that's the channel measurement. We highly recommend always to use the permanent link if you are an installer and you are certifying a new installations. Then we have, who attended the webinar of Werner, it was last week. We talked in more details about MPTL. Okay, in MPTL, in some occasions, we will have a patch panel, and from the other side, we will have a horizontal cable, and then we have an RJ45 plug. So how we can test it? Okay, we cannot use two permanent links because physically it will not be able, we will not be able to connect it. Okay, please always use a permanent link from one side and use a patch cord adapter from the other side. Please don't use a channel adapter because the channel adapter will not be able to see the RJ45. So if you have a problem with the RJ45, you will not be able to identify it or certify it with a channel adapter. The patch cord adapter is something which is coming as a special, okay? It's not coming as a standard with the product. So if you have an installation which needs an MPTL, so please make sure to ask one of our partners to supply you the patch cord adapters. Okay. Let's go a little bit quiz. It's a kind of quiz, okay? Which tester are they using, okay? So I've been talking to some people who have been in this industry for 25 or 30 years, okay? So they can remember testers that I did not see it in my life, okay? So let's see who can remember that, okay? So the type of tester, you can see it here, okay? We see the model is DSX 5000. I'm sure many of you are using DSX 5000. Okay, so if you are using that, keep going, just make sure that it's, we will talk about it, just make sure that it's calibrated, and then you are good to go. Yeah, so we have the DSX8000. The DSX8000 is supporting the Cat8. Yeah, so if you are using that, also make sure that it's calibrated. The DTX1800, yeah, I'm sure that many of you used it, or I hope not still using it, because this model has been obsoleted and we are not able to support it. We are not able to calibrate it because of non-availability of spare parts needed during calibration. So if you see a result of DTX1800 and the test was done yesterday, I would automatically know that this unit was not calibrated. Okay, so unfortunately, we cannot accept results out of DTX1800. Okay. I'm not sure if many of you remember the Omni Scanner 2, the DSP 4300, the DSP 4100. Honestly, I did not test with that. I did not see it in real in my life. Yeah, but I think many of my colleagues who are in the company for 25 or 30 years, they have seen that. Okay. So out of joke, you can see all these results in a Linkware PC. If you have an old result of DSP 4000, you can see it on one platform. You can see the result of the DTX 1800, but please always make sure that you are doing the testing with our Versiv DSX 5000, 8000, or the DSX 600 or 602. Okay, the other part is which adapters has been used. Okay, so if you noticed here, we use the Cat6 permanent link, correct? So we need to make sure that we use the right adapter. We have seen many situations that a customer has set up the test limit as Cat6 permanent link, but he used different adapters. Okay, so the main adapter here is DSX PLA. PLA, from its name, it refers to permanent link. So it seems to be okay. Remote adapter also, it was DSX PLA, and from its name, we can recognize that it's a permanent link. Okay, but what about if I use the channel adapter? If I use DSX CHA, that's a channel adapter, and I use the limit of Cat6 permanent link, then I would know that I made a mistake. So that's something that is very important to analyze, not only to see which limit I did the test at, is to see what kind of physical adapter that I used. Did I, if I set up the tester on permanent link, did I really use the permanent link adapters or not? Okay, the most important part also is the calibration date. Yeah, so the calibration date, you can see it in the test report. And yeah, and that's another reason why we cannot accept results in PDF. Yeah, in some cases, some system integrators will do a test with non-calibrated testers. Okay, and then with the PDF, they will try to remove the date and to remove the information about the calibration. But if we receive the result in the original Fluke format, then that cannot be, you can see always when the unit was really calibrated. So let's look at the calibration date. Okay. Yeah, so we as a Fluke Networks, we recommend to calibrate the tester every 12 months, okay? And that needs to be done with one of our authorized service center. So we need to be very careful not to use a third-party calibration lab, which will do just a functionality test of a tester and give you a calibration certificate. In this way, the dates of calibration, they will not be able to change it inside the unit itself. So when you hand over a test report to your consultant or to your customer, even if the unit was sent to a calibration lab, the calibration date will not be changed. The only way to change the calibration date is to send it to one of our authorized service centers, and that needs to be done every 12 months. Okay, so let's have a check. Okay, so in the test report, okay, I have a date and time. Yeah, so what's the date and time here? It's the date and time when the test was actually done in the field. Okay, and then we have a calibration date. So let's take an example. If the date and time of the testing was March 23rd of March, okay, and the calibration date was on March 11th, 2016. Is this a valid test report? Is the calibration still valid? The answer is not, because it passed the 12 months. Okay, let's take another example. Okay, so let's take another example. If we did the test, if we did the actual test in February 28th, and the calibration was done in March 11, 2016, that's within the 12 months period, and this test result can be accepted as a valid test result. What's the reason that we need to do a calibration? It's very important. It's very important to maintain the accuracy of the device. If we are not calibrating, then we are not sure that the accuracy is within acceptable limits or not. So we need to make sure that we are calibrating our testers every 12 months. The software version, okay, that's version 5, build 3, okay. So what's the software version? The software version is the firmware version that it will be uploaded in the tester itself, okay. So it's always important to keep our testers updated with the latest firmwares, because if it is updated in the latest firmware, sometimes we find a kind of software bugs, or we have some modifications. Like we added 1 year ago Systemax calculator in our version. So if we have any updates, you will be seeing it in the latest software version, and that's free of charge. You can just go, and I will show you how you can go to our website, download the latest software version, make sure that your testers are running with the latest software versions. How I can download the latest software version? It's easy. After the webinar, please make sure that you go to fluknetworks.com, okay, as you can see here, and then from support, just go to downloads and updates. Then you can see the latest versions. Yeah, as per today, April 13th, okay, the latest version that we have is version 6.5, build 5. And even for the Linkware PC software that we are using to read or to analyze the results that we have, also we have an updates. Just make sure that also you are updating that. So the latest Linkware PC software is 10.5. And we keep updating it. So maybe tomorrow, if you have the recording and there is a new update, don't blame me. Just go to Fluke Networks, see what's the latest version, download it free of charge. Make sure that your testers are running with the latest firmwares and your Linkware PC is running with the latest software. Okay, now that's a question that we are receiving. I'm receiving sometimes calls from customers calling me, okay, they're saying, we did the test, but we saw a pass star. What's a pass star? What does it mean? Okay, so when we analyze the results, I can just filter the status, and then I can filter it to see the pass first, and then I can see the pass star, and then I can see the fail. But have you wondered what does pass star mean, and is it acceptable or not? That's what we will cover in the next slide. So let's take this example. In the near-end crosstalk, okay, we can see a pass star results, okay, for the pairs 4, 5, and 7, 8. We can see that there was a pass star. What does that mean? Basically means that the actual result passed, but it was very close to the limit, and it's within the tester's accuracy. Let's zoom a result. That's the same result that we showed in the previous slide. So we have a near-end crosstalk. Okay, let's zoom it. What you would say about this measurement? Is it pass or fail? Let's zoom it more. That's how it looks like. So this is the accuracy of the device, okay, because it's an electronic, so it has a plus or minus accuracy. So the actual result was here. And if we add the accuracy of the device, the plus or minus, it can be below the limit, it can be above the limit. So it's very close to the limit, okay? It passed, but it's very close to the limit that it makes it tricky to judge if this result pass or fail. And what's our recommendation here? You need to go back to it's the consultant or the end user decision to accept this result or not. But what does it mean? It's just that the actual result is very close to the limit, and it's within the accuracy of the tester. Okay, yeah. So many customers sometimes have confusion between the test limit and the cable type. There are two different things, and we will explain it a little bit, yeah? So we set up the tester as Cat6 permanent link, but the cable type is something different that we need to make sure that we do a right setup because it can affect the MVP. Oh, what's the MVP? Okay. The MVP, in definition, the velocity or MVP multiplied by time equals to the distance or length. So every twisted pair cable, okay, it will be specified from the manufacturer. What's the MVP? The MVP is the speed of the signal in the cable, okay? So every cable has different MVP, and it doesn't mean that the MVP values are different, that it's a better quality cable or not. It's a specific for each type of cable. So if we multiply the velocity MVP and we measure the time it takes from the main to the remote to reach the same, for the signal to reach from the main to remote, then we can calculate the distance or length. And this is the way that the tester is measuring the distance or the length of my installation. And sometimes it can be very critical because, as we talked, in a permanent link installation, we cannot have more than 90 meters. In channel, we cannot have more than 100 meters. So if I enter wrong MVP value here, then I might end up in a wrong distance or length of the twisted pair, which can misguide me to a wrong result, which I don't want to see. So the MVP value is very critical. We can find it in written or labeled in the cable itself, or we can find it in the data sheet from the manufacturer. And if we go to also in the tester, if we go to our library, we have a big library holding big data for a number of cable manufacturers with the model number. So if we select the model number of a cable manufacturer, typically we should get the correct MVP value for that measurement. Okay. So let's take an example here. Okay, here, remember we are doing a channel measurement. A customer is doing a Cat6A channel measurement. And as you remember, the limit for the channel measurement is 100 meters. And the value, the actual value of the length was 101. And still the result passed. Why is that? Yeah, you should not panic because the standard allows us with a 10% accuracy measurement. So if I have a 10% up, yeah, if we have a measuring channel up to 110, usually the standards allow you to pass the measurement. So even if you have 101 meters, the measurement is correct, and yeah, and the result pass. But we should be aware that probably if it fails, if the length is longer than what the standard calls for, then the propagation delay might fail. So we can see here that the propagation delay limit was 498, and it failed because it had a value of 499. In ISO, not in TIA, we don't have a length limit, okay? It's just a propagation delay limit, which will eventually have the same impact. So if I have very long cables, it will also fail the ISO because it will fail the propagation delay measurement. Okay, so the cable type, we mentioned Cat6 UUTP, okay? So if I put the type of cable as Cat6 UUTP, okay? This is the wire map that I should expect, yeah? UUTP means that I don't have a shield. The pairs are not shielded, it's not foiled, so I should expect a wire map like this, okay? So if the shield is not connected, I can understand that this measurement was done properly and I don't have any issues with my cabling. But if I selected something like that, if I selected Cat6 UUTP and I see a shield, oh, there is something wrong, yeah? Then most probably I did not select the right cable. Okay, so this cable should be shielded. So it should be either SFTP or it should be FUTP cable. The SFTP, okay, yeah, it will have an overall shield and individual pairs will be shielded as well. So that can be a measurement of Cat 8 SFTP cable. Now, are we ready for testing? Yeah. So now we understand some basics about how to read the cable certification report. Okay. So now I will leave it for question and answers. Yeah. So if there are any questions, we will be more than glad to answer that. Please, if you are interested in fiber, make sure to register for next week webinar where we will talk in more details about the fiber. Werner,
yes, so plenty of questions. I think we tried to answer a few of them online already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would start with a question that I saw, which is also nice and cool to share. In the test report, in one of the slides, Salah, that you showed the test report in PDF showing calibration, 2 days of calibration, one for main, one for remote. Can you tell why we show this?
Yeah, because it's if we look at our testers, okay, the main and remote doesn't have a module which is dedicated for main and remote. I can swap it, okay, and both modules needs to be calibrated because both of them are doing the measurements. So if I swap this is my main, if I swap it with the remote, if I just remove my module, okay, if I remove my module and I swap it with the remote, then it will act as a remote. So it's very important when we do the calibration, we do calibration for both modules. We don't do calibration only for one module. Okay, so that's, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Related to that, there was also a question, there is a calibration date and a calibration start date.
Yes. That's very important. Yeah, that's very important question. In our test reports, we don't mention, let me try to go back. In our test reports, we don't mention what's the calibration expiry date. Yeah? We mention the real actual calibration date. And we should know that it's valid, that our recommendation as Fluke Networks to calibrate it every 12 months. So what we mention here is not a expiry calibration date, but it's the actual calibration date of the unit. Okay.
So also related to that, so what if it's out of calibration? Should it give a fault or what?
Yeah, so that's
what is then wrong with the test result?
Yeah, so that's why it's very important that's why we wanted to present this presentation. Yeah, so we will not have like an alarm. We will not have a message here, but we need to understand that our units needs to be calibrated. If it is not calibrated, then we are testing pass, fail, and there is pass star. Yeah. So if we are doubting the measurement of pass to fail, if it's not accurate measurement, we are wasting time in the field. So we need to make sure when we test, we have only two answers, pass or fail. We cannot test and not being sure that the pass is pass and the fail is fail. So that's why we need to make sure that it's calibrated. Once it's calibrated, once you are using a calibrated tester, you are 100% sure that the test is as accurate enough to certify your cabling. Yeah?
Another question that's also pretty interesting. How can we track the device if it is calibrated and the report is modified? So like what you're saying, if somebody modified the PDF report, how can you track? I mean, it's very common practice in the field. Can you enlighten that, Salah?
Yeah, so there is two ways to do that, okay? The first is always to ask for the test report in an original Fluke format, which we call it FLW. In the Fluke format, Fluke original format, you cannot modify. You cannot modify the calibration date. You cannot modify the test results. You cannot modify anything. It just will be the actual measure. Other way is within the tester itself, okay, we can know what's the calibration date, okay? It will be mentioned in the calibration date in the tester itself. So if we switch on the unit, okay, we go and we check the calibration, it will tell you the calibration of the module, when it was actually calibrated, and when the calibration date started. Okay.
also to add on this, Salah, for people who are using Linkware Live, they can see those information also on Linkware Live. So we have all different means, from the machine to Linkware PC to Linkware Live, the Fluke format. For sure that all those ways will definitely not allow anybody to change the format, unlike the PDF, where we have editors of PDF that can play this game. But consultants, manufacturers now are very aware of this, that they are not accepting even PDF formats.
Yeah.
A lot of questions.
I would say one interesting question: what is usually the expected end of life or expected lifespan of the unit? That's, I think Werner had talked a little bit during that session last week, but I think it's a very common question, and we should always welcome this question for our audience.
So so that's a very good question. Actually, if you look at it, we can see sometimes I can see a DSP, which is like 20 years testers in the field. But are we able to test you? I doubt that, because the standards change, okay, the limitation changes, the capabilities are changing. So as a point of investment, okay, we should consider that the tester should stay with us for the next 10 years, okay? As life of the device, we can see testers which are in the field for more than 20 years, but as we said, it's old standard, old technology that we are using there, so we cannot, it's the change of technology which limit us, not the life of the tester itself.
Another interesting, maybe coming back on the calibration date, someone asked, hey, what if I did a test and afterwards you see the calibration was invalid? Can you calibrate the tester and re-certify the test report?
No, because when you are doing calibration, okay, it might be some adjustment of the readings of the values. So it might be that the tester was reading, for example, the near-end crosstalk, the actual value was wrong. So we cannot do that. We need to really do the test again. So make sure before you go to the field, okay, make sure that the unit is calibrated, so you don't need to rework your job again.
I think there's an interesting question, in a way directed to this one, or linked to that one, but we can always see it. Will the device help you know the quality of the copper cable or the quality of the copper inside the cable? Is there any meaning for that?
If we talk about, we have limits, okay? The standard specified for us limits, but also we have headrooms, we have margins, So the better the cable, usually we will have better or bigger headrooms that will help us to identify and differentiate between different type of cables. And that's something that we can do, okay? Maybe I did not mention that. We have in the Linkware PC, we have something Linkware statistics that we can group a number of cables together. If we have like 3-4 cable manufacturers and we want to see the difference performance of different cable manufacturers, then we can group it and then we can do the analysis and see what are the margins or the headrooms away from the limits. So the better manufacturers, okay, they will usually have better margins or headrooms to the test limits.
So questions related to what if it fails? Or the easier one was, what if you have a wire map problem? How do you know on which side it is?
So if we have a flipped, okay, then we will know that it's flipped. If we have a cut, then we will have a short at certain distance. So we will be able to identify it, So that's, so if we looked at, let me go to the wire map, okay, so let me see the examples. So, So if we see the examples of the wire map, I'm sorry for that. Examples, okay, so if we have open pairs, okay, it's telling you that within at 13 meters from the main, I have an issue. So from the other side, I have at 1.5 meters. So I can basically identify There are things that we cannot identify, like for example, if we have a flipped pair, then we cannot know from which side. But yeah, but if you have a flipped pair, usually you need to return.
So what is important here is the left side is the main unit, the right side is the remote unit. You would see that if you click on the question mark for half.
Right.
That's maybe. But if it's a crossover, for example, yeah, then I think it's crossover from both sides. If you look whatever side, if you have to switch it on one side.
Yeah.
But yeah, similar or to the more difficult then, what if the fault info says it's a bad cable? How can you further diagnose it or find the root cause?
Yeah, usually what we said in a certification, we are measuring the signal and we are measuring the noise. So if we have bad wire map, if I have open pairs, I will not have a signal. Yeah, so that's something that I need to, so if I have a bad wire map, that's the first troubleshooting that I need to do. Okay, but still I can continue and do the test and have measurements, but it really doesn't make any sense. Yeah? So if I have a wire map issue, then I need to fix it before I go into further investigation or certification of my cable.
I would recommend to follow our CCTT training. Then the trainers will go in more depth how to analyze with our high dimension time domain crosstalk analyzer.
Yeah, so the CCTT is very important. The CCTT is the Certified Cable Technician Training, okay? And we have in our region number of trainers who are conducting like 2 days training, 1 day for copper, 1 day for fiber. In these trainings, you will go into depth details of analyzing these results, okay? And how, so, and after that, there is an exam. If you pass it, then you are certified cable technician,
Several questions related to NVP. What if the NVP was wrong? Will it affect my measurements?
Yeah, it will affect only the length measurement, as we explained, because the NVP multiplied by the time equals the length. So it will not affect the near end crosstalk. It will not affect insertion loss. The only effect that it will have is on the length, and the length sometimes, as you're aware, it can be critical. So it can pass or fail your results if you are doing a permanent link or a channel test.
I have a nice question. I think this is a topic for us in the upcoming sessions about Linkware Live, but we can give a short report about it. If I have are there any possibilities that the tester can send the results straight to an email address of the client?
Maybe you can answer that.
So what exactly? So I was waiting for you to signal me that because that's the topic I'm gonna prepare for that webinar later. So yes, we can, but it has to be done through Linkware Live. It is not a direct email, but you can create what is called a collaboration team, and you can add that particular end user or consultant or contractor or your different colleagues or manufacturer into that collaboration team. So whatever you do as upload of the results from the machine to the cloud, they can see it on the cloud and they can have direct access to that. So this is the collaboration that we're talking about, and that's how we can share the results from the tester to the cloud to whomever you want to give access to. So that's the answer for that one. But stay tuned. In the coming couple of webinars, we will have an extensive sessions on Linkware Live where we can talk more about those kind of details.
Testing a link with ISO, is it different from testing with a TIA standard?
Yeah, every standard has its own measurement criteria. On the end, it's similar, but the ISO is the international standard. TIA is mainly an American standard, but in our regions in the Middle East, we see, that's why I keep talking about TIA, because when we are saying Cat6, Cat6A, we are referring to TIA standards. So that's what we are mainly using in our regions. But there are similarities. Some parameters are needed, like what I explained, like the length is not specified in ISO while it's specified in TIA. but in ISO we have a propagation delay, which will lead to the same result. So yeah, so there is differences, but there are also big similarities in or equivalent. So when we are testing Cat6, there is an equivalent to that in the ISO.
Several questions related to our previous webinar. For example, if we don't have an MPTL module, I assume question was patch cord adapter. Can you test the link, the permanent link, by terminating two keystones Cat6a jack to test a crimped connector? And related to that, someone asked, hey, can I use channel adapter to test?
Yeah. So yeah. So if you remove the RJ45 and you install it again, then you are not certifying that RJ45 which is there. We need to use a patch cord adapter, and that was explained in details with a webinar so presented by Werner last week. So if you need to have that presentation or just please send us an email, and we will make sure the recordings for that. So yeah, with MPTL we need to use a patch cord adapter, and that needs to be specific. So if I'm testing a Cat6, then I need to use a patch cord adapter for Cat6. If I'm testing Cat6a, then I need to use a patch cord adapter for Cat6a.
There are some questions, I think, talking about the maximum limits for the results. I think this is not the purpose of this particular presentation today, but what we can say, each standards define the particular loss limit. So if it is a return loss or the insertion loss, or even next, all those standards specify them, and we test according to those standards. So for more information, those details can be looked up from the standards. And when we show our results and we show our standard line that you are showing, the red line, we test according to those lines pre-specified by the standards. So we cannot say now what is the maximum limit. We have to keep it for the standard for you to look at it and define it from there.
And the most important that you don't need to remind it to remember it, because it's all saved in the tester. So once you select the right test limit, it will automatically, it has the full details of what are the test limits. So. Yeah.
Yeah, some questions are related, I would say, follow our CCTT, or like if there is water effect on the cable or rain effect.
Yeah. So that's as explained. It's more a CCTT, okay. But maybe we showed it in the. Yeah. So maybe someone read it very quickly before me. So yeah. So we explained that it was. Yeah. So possible reason, okay. That
Okay.
an issue in the return loss, okay. That it can be a possible reason in the water in the cable. So it can be identified, and the tester itself, even you don't need to read these graphs, it will tell you an alarm, the problem that in English, it will write to you that you have a water in the cable. So you don't need to be an expert to be able to use our tester. You can just go test. If there is water in the cable, the tester is smart enough to give you the troubleshooting in English. Yeah.
There are some questions about the CCTT and training and related components. I would kindly ask the audience, if you need more questions related to the trainings, please send us an email to either me, Salah, or Werner, and we will be able to connect you to our trainers across the region, depends on your geographical presence. So you can align with them on the potential costs and the dates of those training that are happening in the region.
No other questions? Is there any or?
There's still some more questions, but I think time is running. We can keep on answering if you want, or what we can do with the question that has not been answered, we can also answer in the background in the next couple of days. Also, I would like to add something. Maybe you can explain the support procedure, Salah.
The support, yeah. So very important that we, as a Fluke Networks, we have a support team. Okay, that in case that you have any issues or any doubts of your measurements, you measure something and you don't know what does it mean or what's the reason for this failure. We have a support team that they are working almost 24/7 that they can help you to identify these issues. So you can email us and we forward it to support, or you can directly go to support@flukenetworks.com and you can access a team of an expertise who can analyze and help you with any technical support issues.
Questions why, for example, the test report does not give PoE as a compliant network standard. So I assume when you do the testing, it passes Cat 6, but it also shows in the bottom you can run 1 gig, 10 gig, whatever, but there is no show of PoE. Why is that?
Yeah, so PoE, we have we had also a separated webinar talking about what are the parameters that we need to measure in the PoE. In the PoE, there are more measurements. We need to measure the temperature. We need to measure other factors also. But do you have anything to add, Werner? Or
yeah, I would say PoE is not really an application. Is you deliver power over the cable. We certify the cable for data communication. We can do extra measurements to give you a better guarantee or warranty that the PoE will work, which is the resistance unbalance. But PoE itself, it's not an application that we can say, okay, if you test Cat 6a, then PoE will work. That's not an application standard.
I think we passed the time. So, but if there are any questions which we did not answer, we will go through the Q&A and make sure that we reply to you one-to-one. And feel free to reach us, any of us, either me, Wael, Werner. And please remember to register for the next week webinar. It's planned on 20th of March. It will be similar to this topic, but we will talk in more details about Tier 1 and Tier 2 fibers. So, yeah. So
in general, I would like to add still, some people are asking, is it recorded? Some people came late. So yes, this webinar has been recorded and you can review it. You will get an email with your attendance and there you can see the recording, or someone who missed it or a colleague who missed it, you can still send that same link and they will find the registration link and see the recording. You cannot participate in the polling, of course, or ask extra questions online, but you can still see this webinar.
Also, I would like to add that before the closing notes, if you guys need to add some more people that you believe that they might be interested to watch those webinars and join us into the upcoming sessions, please, and they might not have received the email invite. If you share with us their email addresses, we will be able to add them to our mailing list. And when we send out for the next webinar in the next couple of days, they will be included as well. So we can reach to a wider audience within your company or your community as well. So feel free to share that information with us. Salah, your closing, please.
Yeah. So I would like to thank you, everyone. I took a little bit longer than what we planned for, and thank you for having, for keeping you staying in our webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was fruitful. You got some important information, feel free to reach to us. It's just a webinar that we are trying to present during these times, but we are available. Please contact us. Please stay tuned with us. We will be sending you invitations for new webinars. If you have any topic that you are interested in, please share it with us one-to-one that you would like to have a webinar. And then if we have a number of people who are interested in this topic, then we can run the webinar based on that. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your attendance, and hopefully we will see you next week. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks also from our side.
Thanks.